This is Advancing Your Business, Your People, and Your Legacy podcast, where we discuss all things that impact the growth, value, and sustainability of privately held businesses. This podcast is produced by the Rawls Group, Business Succession Planners, and I am Kendall Rawls, your moderator. In this series, focused on Where Are All the Leaders, Aichia Bascaro of the American Franchise Academy and Jeff Bannon of the Rawls Group will tackle unique challenges multi-unit franchisees face in recruiting, developing, and retaining top talent. This series covers a variety of discussion topics, so after you finish this installment, be sure to check back in to listen to the remainder of the conversation. Here we go. So, Aichia, what do you feel are the impacts to the industry and the profession if franchise owners don't make the mental shift it takes to recruit and retain future leaders?
You know, if they don't, they will find themselves constantly short-staffed and spending a large amount of time, money, and resources recruiting for people because they don't, because people don't stay. And so that is the risk that they're taking. If you don't have a focus, a strategy, a process on recruiting and the right people and retaining them for as long as you can, you're going to find yourself constantly short-staffed and spending the time and effort doing that instead of focusing on growing your business and making it healthier and bigger. And so that's a huge risk that they're taking, and it's a big part, of what I talk about. It's a big part of what I have written in my books, and it's one of the things that are overlooked. People say, well, I'm just going to hire people, but it takes time for you to hire the right person. Jeff mentioned earlier how sometimes we just hire the first person that walks in that, that can breathe and walk and talk. And that's exactly the things that gets us in trouble, because, one bad apple can ruin, the whole basket. And you might not even realize that that's what's happening, because unless you're there observing it, you won't realize that one person might be the one that's causing, the low morale or the bad attitude or the non-compliance. And so each hire is so important, and the process in which you put them through is going to be important to then retain them. And so for sure, this is one of the business owner processes that attention and time has to be given, and has to be followed in a way that it protects the brand, and it protects the people, and it protects the business, so that you can grow and spend the time in the things that are going to help grow the company, and not just, keep, closing the holes created by the turnover that you have.
And Jeff, what about from your perspective?
Well, I think the industry is at an interesting time right now, and in my conversations with lots of different franchisors, there is a pretty high sense of concern, almost getting to panic as time goes on, due to the fact that very few franchisees have identified a plan for continuity of the business. And as I've talked to a few franchisors, who say that 70% of their profits or their cash flow is coming from 20 to 30% of their franchisees, and many of whom are either family-owned businesses or aging franchisors who haven't franchisees who haven't expressed a plan for continuing. And so these franchisors are sitting there saying, we're going to have to take on quite a bit here, or at least we're going to have a massive restructuring coming up unless we have a plan for it. Continue, I think there's going to be consolidation in the industry as well, as many of these organizations are, without leaders. There's going to be an opportunity to swoop up and pick them up, probably fairly cheaply, to add to portfolios for people who have done the planning. So I think that the industry is going to see a lot of change and turmoil, unless organizations are addressing the recruiting and retention of leaders, and whether that's the development of family members, developing key managers, or going out and getting some hired guns to keep this thing going. It's a pretty questionable future there for many of the franchisors. You know, one of the other things that comes up is that you know, franchisees and franchisors at times will view themselves as conflicting parties. Well, probably more often than not, but the truth is they all want the same thing, and that's to get as much money out of these businesses as possible. And the mistake many franchisees make is that they feel that they can put a plan in place but not communicate it to the franchisor out of fear that it could be leveraged or it could, you know, may not be approved. And then they leave the transition period up to chance because nothing's been, you know, communicated beforehand. And the truth is the communication of a plan is best done while the franchisee is doing well. The franchisor is most likely to say yes and approve a plan in place as long as they are making money and performing where they're supposed to be. So there's a lot of communication that needs to take place on this topic, you know, in order to make everybody feel a little bit more comfortable about where the industry's headed.
Advancing Your Business, Your People, and Your Legacy is produced by the Rawls Group and hosted by me, Kendall Rawls. Thank you to Aichia Bascaro with the American Franchise Academy and Jeff Bannon, a succession planner with the Rawls Group, for their expertise and content contribution to this series. You can hear more of this discussion on the Rawls Group's website at www.rawlsgroup.com. Thanks so much.